everybody. This is a Mile Markers Moment. I'm Rhonda Schnabel, and today we have a very special guest joining us. Please help me welcome Jamie Bermudez to the Mile Markers family. We are going to talk to Jamie about virtual occupational therapy, or virtual OT, and the benefits our families can receive from it. Jamie, most of our viewers have experienced virtual medicine with their own doctors. The COVID-19 pandemic was key in opening the door for all therapies to use a virtual platform as well. Mile Markers has embraced the use of virtual healthcare in order to bring access to highly skilled therapists who have made virtual therapy their passion, all for the purpose of providing exceptional care to as many families as possible. So Jamie, tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to join Mile Markers as a virtual OT.
Sure. I've been an occupational therapist for 24 years. That entire time has been working with children in a variety of settings, but always with pediatrics. I'm also a mom to a child with special needs, so I really get that caregiver side as well as the clinician side, which is kind of unique aspect that I bring to the team. And I really am excited to work with Mile Markers because I love working with kids in their natural environment, and you'll probably hear me say that word a lot, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that means as we go throughout this process.
Very good. Well, we get this question a lot. My child doesn't work. Why does he need occupational therapy?
So that's a great question. A child's work is really learning. They're young, they're growing, their job is to learn. And how children learn is through play or through school. So OTs really, we help develop like meaningful ways to help you address any barriers you might be facing in your child's development, whether that be through play skills or using your school accommodations at home. So if you just think of, yes, your child doesn't have a job, but their job is to learn.
Conditions can be treated over a computer screen, though. That seems like harder than, if you were in person.
In some ways, it can be a little more challenging. And then in other ways, it's honestly a lot easier to have that natural environment setting, which is what your child is already familiar with. And really, we can work on anything that you can pretty much work on in a clinic setting. So that could be fine motor skills, that could be feeding skills, sensory processing skills, social emotional skills. OTs are great at looking at the whole person. And so we can really work on anything virtually.
Can you describe some of the benefits of a virtual OT or occupational therapy? Like what makes it easier in those cases where you say, it is easier?
Right. Well, the best part is the convenience because you can do it like right from your home. So you don't have to travel. You can maybe make a time that is easier for you that doesn't include travel time. Almost everybody in this day and age has some type of digital device, whether that's a phone or a tablet. And what is easy about it from a therapeutic standpoint is that we are in that natural environment. And so what I mean by that is, I can be in your home where your child is familiar with everything. I can also be in your backyard if we need to get up and move. If you want to do a session at a park, you can take me along on your phone. I might be in your bathroom if we're working on toothbrushing and grooming skills, or I can be at your kitchen table if you want to work on feeding or handwriting. So that's how the natural environment is easy via virtual therapy.
One of the things that Mile Markers, I think, is well known for is treating sensory processing disorder. And how can you do that virtually?
Sure. So virtually, I can work with a family to sort of like identify ways that we can use some sensory strategies in their home setting and kind of how do we embed that into their daily routine? So like,
Good.
what is the barrier? And we can kind of break that down. And you can do that in a clinic setting too. It's just at home, we're really using that natural environment. So it could be that, your child has a hard time coming to the dinner table, and then we realize, he's got some sound sensitivities. We need to turn off the TV. We sort of need to prep the area for him to be successful. And we can look and sort of analyze it down to a small detail to help him be successful, maybe before we even start the process of eating. So we can make it be very comfortable and what your child is sort of used to in the home environment.
That sounds amazing. The front desk gets a lot of calls for cancellations because a child is having a bad day or they're upset or they can't get it. The parent can't get them into the car to come to mile markers. How can virtual OT help these families?
Well, honestly, like I said before, not everything is going to be this great success story. If you can't get your kid into the car and they're having a meltdown, that's the perfect time to do a virtual therapy session. Like, don't be embarrassed. Let me see, what the troubles are. What are the barriers, to being successful? And maybe the success is actually getting into the car seat, or if it's a toddler, they can buckle it themselves. And so, we can work together and kind of do that caregiver coaching. Maybe your child needs visuals. Maybe they need a timer. Maybe they need a countdown. Maybe they, need some behavioral approach to sort of know what the end result is. But the biggest thing is let me help you be successful and things that are important to you. And think how many times we get a kid in a car seat to go somewhere. We do that multiple times a day. So if that's preventing you from coming to a therapy session, I'd say maybe try to switch to a virtual session and then maybe we can brainstorm on that together.
Those are great ideas and definitely a great strategy for kind of being in the moment with the parent. That's amazing. Do families need a home computer and a fancy setup for this?
Absolutely not. Like, seriously, you could hand any toddler a phone or a tablet, and they would probably already know how to power it on, swipe, hit buttons, go to YouTube. They already are pretty intuitive and know how to use technology. We're really coming into like a digital age. So almost everybody has either a cell phone or a tablet or a laptop, and you can do virtual therapy from anywhere. Doesn't really
That
have to be
is,
like a fancy setting or an
yeah.
office. I'm in my office right now, but sometimes you might see me doing it from outside, especially if we're going to be doing it outside together, then I'm going to go outside too. So it's very flexible.
I like flexibility, and our kids love flexibility as well. I think that if my child needed occupational therapy, I would so choose this option because I do not want to have to get in my car and struggle to get my kid in my car. So I think what an awesome platform for families that are open to it and that maybe want to try a new experience. I think that's wonderful. I could see though how some families might be concerned over the loss of like a tangible person, like,
Mhm.
it's just what we're so used to, right? And
Right.
do you see that as a hardship in the virtual world, or is that more of an opportunity?
I agree. It could be hard to lose somebody face to face, but I still feel like you can make connections virtually. So I definitely see, virtual therapy, teletherapy as an opportunity. I'm a strong believer that parents like know their child best. I know my own children best. So the really nice thing about when we're doing this virtually is that we can focus on this thing called caregiver coaching. And that is really where we're working together, like me as the professional and a parent or a grandparent, guardian, whoever the caregiver is, to really share ideas, analyze what's working, what's not, come back to the table the next week and communicate about it. So, teletherapy really is a way to capitalize on caregiver coaching versus just kind of like dropping your kid off and sitting in a waiting room and waiting for them to be done.
Um, what would you say to a parent or caregiver who doesn't feel equipped to do occupational therapy in their own home virtually?
So first, I have to say, I do not care about the cleanliness of your home. I used to have therapists come in when I was the parent, where they would actually come to my home to provide services. And I was always like, oh, I got to pick up or I got to clean before they get there. And once you kind of got to know the therapist, they're there for your child. And that's how I am too. I'm there for your kid. And so really, I think it's a great way for parents and caregivers to also learn. Your kid could be learning about, I had this happen this week, zones of regulation, and he's been really good at identifying his emotional regulation level. And so we were talking about it, and the mom was like, wait, I don't know what those colors are. I don't know what that means. So it was really great because now we got to include mom in that process. And then, she's the one that sort of gets to work the magic and do that with this child every day of the week when I'm not there.
I would imagine that's esteem building too for the families that have struggled for so long with behaviors or with emotional dysregulation and not having the tools, not being equipped with the tools. And all of a sudden you're giving them the keys to the kingdom and now they have success. I think that's amazing. Do you have any other success stories you can share with us?
Sure. Well, actually, just this week, I met a little guy and he came to the session and he had a plate of non-preferred foods, which included a banana because he didn't like to touch it. It was sticky. And then he had a plate of his preferred foods, which were crunchy things like Cheez-It, Oreo cookie, pretzels, things of that nature. And so he had some goals to really start to expand what he could tolerate to eat. And so mom did great. She came to the session and she had, like I said, a plate of each. And we were really able to break it down into tiny, tiny little steps, not just eat the banana. And he might not have eaten the banana in the first session, and that would have been okay. But he actually did. And mom was so excited because he took a bite of a banana for the first time ever. But it took us about 30 minutes to get to that point because there's a lot of steps that an occupational therapist can break down for you, kind of some sensory strategies and approaches to get to that point where maybe your child's comfortable eating a banana. Now, would he have done that at school in the cafeteria? Absolutely not. It would have been way too loud, way too distracting. I don't even know if he would have done it in a clinic setting that's a little more artificial. But because he was in his favorite chair at his kitchen table and his mom was right there, I think he felt really safe to do something new for the first time. So that was a great success story.
So good. And a lot of it is things that we know, but we don't apply, or we don't know that that would be make a difference like that. But the things that you're mentioning are so, I mean, I could totally see it. So that's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that. I know a lot of kids that only like Cheetos. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun to work on. And I think he surprised himself. Mom was surprised. And, not every session is going to be a huge win like that. But it was a great way to start off the week for sure.
oh yeah, for sure.
That's true.
There might be some families out there that may still be resistant to trying virtual occupational therapy. What would you say to them?
I think what I would say is you don't know it till you try it, kind of like with everything. So you might have some preconceived ideas of this isn't going to work, my kid isn't going to like it. I had a mom this week tell me oh, I don't know if I really want to do it, but we gave it a shot. And at the end, she was like, this went a lot better than what I was expecting. Let's schedule again for next week because especially she didn't have transportation. So it was either do teletherapy or have your child go without therapy. And she really didn't want him to go without either. So give it a try and we can work together and then we can go from there and see if it's a good fit for you and your family.
That's a great answer. I do have to say, Jamie, that feedback is coming in from our families that have been exposed to you, and the feedback is great. Everybody just loves your approach and loves your demeanor, and so I hope other families will take this opportunity to get to know you firsthand, because people are happy. So, well, that was very eye-opening, and I want to thank you for sharing your experience and your expertise with us today. If you or anybody you know knows a child that could benefit from occupational therapy, please give us a call at 928-854-5439 or find us online at www.milemarkers.us. Don't forget to follow us on social media for more updates and information. Mile Markers is committed to offering only the highest level of care for your children. If you have questions, we have answers.